First contact. The Ulveri research vessel Celestial Harmony drifted silently through the void of space, its iridescent hull absorbing and reflecting the distant starlight. Science Director Nezer stood motionless at the observation deck, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he gazed at the blue-green planet filling the view screen. "Remarkable," he whispered, his voice carrying a musical quality typical of his species. "An inhabited world, previously uncharted. The third planet of this unremarkable yellow star." The Ulveri had ruled their corner of the galaxy for millennia. Their civilization had advanced beyond physical limitations that plagued lesser species. Disease, hunger, and violence were concepts studied only in historical archives. Their technology was elegant and efficient, representing the pinnacle of evolution and design. Director called Navigator Thela from her station. "Our preliminary scans indicate a technologically advanced civilization on the surface. They appear to have achieved spaceflight and have established orbital installations." Nezer's skin rippled with patterns of blue light, indicating his excitement. "A new species to welcome into the galactic harmony. Begin standard observation protocols. I want to understand their society before we make contact." The Celestial Harmony took up position behind the planet's moon, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to the primitive detection systems of the natives. For 3 cycles, the Ulveri observed the planet they would learn was called Earth. What they discovered puzzled them deeply. "Director," Science Officer Vorel reported, "these humans are unusual. Their technological development is remarkably uneven. They've achieved spaceflight, yet still burn fossil fuels. They've mapped their genome, yet still suffer from curable diseases. They've created global communication networks, yet still engage in tribal conflicts." Nezer studied the data with growing fascination. Contradictions are often the hallmark of a young species. What of their social structures? "That's even more perplexing," Vorel continued. "They have no unified planetary government. Instead, they've divided themselves into hundreds of nation-states, many antagonistic toward each other. They seem to thrive on competition rather than cooperation." "Fascinating," Nezer murmured. "A species that achieves space travel before achieving unity. Most unusual." The Ulveri continued their observations, cataloging human accomplishments and failures with equal scientific detachment. Their conclusion was that humanity represented an interesting but ultimately immature species that would benefit greatly from Ulveri guidance. Until they scanned the warship. "Director, we've detected a large vessel leaving the planet's atmosphere," reported Sensor Officer Lyran. "It's significantly larger than any we've observed so far." "On screen," Nezer ordered. The view screen shifted to show a massive vessel, angular and imposing. Unlike the elegant curves of Ulveri ships, this craft was all hard edges and sharp angles. Its hull was dotted with what were unmistakably weapon emplacements. "A warship," Vorel said, his skin pulsing with concerned purple patterns. "Heavily armed, based on our readings." "Scan it thoroughly," Nezer commanded. "I want to understand their military capabilities." The Ulveri had maintained peace for so long that their military was largely ceremonial. Violence had been engineered out of their society, replaced with logical discourse and consensus building. The concept of a dedicated war vessel was almost archaic to them. As the scans proceeded, the bridge crew grew increasingly quiet. The data flowing across their screens defied their expectations. "Director," Vorel finally spoke, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. "You should see this analysis." Nezer moved to the science station as Vorel displayed the scan results. What he saw challenged everything he understood about technological evolution. "This vessel, they call it the UES Dauntless, has multiple redundant systems for every critical function. Triple backup life support, decentralized power cores, manual overrides for all automated systems. The inefficiency is staggering." "Perhaps their technology is simply primitive," suggested Navigator Thela. "No," countered Vorel. "Many of their systems show remarkable sophistication, but they've designed everything to continue functioning under catastrophic conditions. It's as if they expect to be attacked at any moment. Nezer studied the schematics with growing unease. These compartmentalized sections with blast doors. The entire ship can seal off damaged areas while maintaining functionality, Vorel explained. And these scattered throughout the vessel are emergency medical facilities. They expect casualties, Director. They design their ships assuming crew members will be injured or killed. She activated a small device, projecting 3D images of Earth's various biomes and wildlife. Humans evolved the ability to survive in nearly any environment on our planet. From Arctic tundra to scorching deserts, we can eat almost anything, endure extreme temperatures, and recover from injuries that would kill most species. The Ulveri watched with growing fascination as Dr. Grant displayed human adaptability data. Humans could function in temperature ranges that would kill most sentient species, survive on bizarre diets, and endure physical stresses that defied comprehension. And this physiological resilience extends to your psychology as well, Vorel noted, studying the data. Your stress response is unlike anything we've encountered. Fight or flight is just the beginning, Dr. Grant confirmed. Humans can maintain functional cognitive abilities under extreme duress. In fact, some of our greatest breakthroughs came during our darkest hours. Nezer's skin rippled with patterns of deep thought. Such abilities would be unnecessary in a harmonious society. Perhaps, Captain Chen said, but the universe isn't harmonious, Director. It's chaotic, unpredictable, and often hostile. Humanity has embraced that reality rather than denied it. The conversation continued for hours, covering human history, culture, and technology. With each revelation, the Ulveri's understanding of what constituted an advanced civilization shifted uncomfortably. You mentioned your ship is called the Celestial Harmony. Chen noted during a brief pause. What does that name represent to your people? Balance, peace, and cooperation, Nezer replied. The ideal state of existence, where all elements work together in perfect synchronicity. Chen nodded thoughtfully. We named our ship the Dauntless because it represents qualities we value. Courage in the face of danger, persistence against overwhelming odds, the refusal to surrender. Different values for different evolutionary paths, Dr. Grant added diplomatically. As the initial meeting drew to a close, Captain Chen extended an unexpected invitation. We would be honored if you would visit the Dauntless. Director Nezer, perhaps seeing our ship firsthand would help you understand our perspective better. Nezer hesitated. Ulveri protocols suggested maintaining first contact on neutral ground or home territory. Yet his scientific curiosity won out. I would be interested in such an exchange. The human delegation returned to their ship, arranging for Nezer and a small team to visit the following day. Once alone, the Ulveri officers gathered to discuss their impressions. Their physiology is remarkable, Vorel said, displaying the human medical data they had gathered. Their endocrine system produces chemicals that actually enhance performance under stress. They can ignore pain, function with minimal sleep, and adapt to radiation levels that would harm most species. And their psychology is equally adapted to adversity, added Zela. They seem to expect challenges and actively prepare for them. What troubles me most, Nezer admitted, is their casual acceptance of violence as a solution. They speak of warfare as though it were simply another tool in their arsenal. Yet they were not hostile toward us, Navigator Thela pointed out. Despite catching us surveilling their vessel, they responded with curiosity, not aggression. For now, Vorel cautioned. But what happens when our interests conflict with theirs? A species that solves problems through force is fundamentally unpredictable. Nezer contemplated the view screen, where the angular form of the Dauntless hung against the backdrop of stars. We need to understand them better before reporting to the High Council. If humans represent a new paradigm of advanced civilization, one that retains primitive aggression alongside technological sophistication, the implications for the galaxy are profound. The next day, Nezer Vorel and Zila boarded a shuttle to the Dauntless. As they approached, The stark difference between the vessels became even more apparent. Where the celestial harmony was organic and flowing, the human warship was mechanical and angular. Its hull was scarred in places, evidence of previous damage that had been repaired. They docked with practiced precision, and Captain Chen personally greeted them in the airlock. "Welcome aboard the Dauntless, Director. I hope this visit will be enlightening." The interior of the human vessel was a study in functional design. Every surface, every control panel, every corridor seemed designed for maximum efficiency rather than comfort or aesthetics. Crew members moved purposefully through the ship, acknowledging the alien visitors with curious glances, but continuing their duties without pause. "Your crew seems remarkably disciplined," Nezer observed as they walked. "The Dauntless is a military vessel," Chen explained. "Everyone aboard has a specific role and responsibilities, but they're also trained to adapt if necessary." "If necessary?" Zila inquired. "In case of casualties," Chen said matter-of-factly. "Every crew member can perform multiple functions if needed." The casual way she referenced potential deaths among her crew disturbed the Ulvari deeply. Their long-lived species considered the loss of even a single life a profound tragedy. The tour continued through various sections of the ship: engineering, medical, tactical. At each stop, the Ulvari's assessment of human capabilities was revised upward. The technologies weren't necessarily more advanced than their own, but they were implemented in ways the Ulvari had never considered. "This is our Combat Information Center," Chen said, as they entered a large chamber dominated by holographic displays and bustling with activity. "From here, we can coordinate all ship functions during normal operations or combat situations." "And how often do you encounter combat situations?" Nezer asked carefully. "Until now, only in training exercises," Chen admitted. "Earth's nations have maintained peace for several decades, but we prepare constantly." "For what?" Voral asked bluntly. "For anything," replied Commander Rodriguez, who had joined them. "Hostile aliens, rogue asteroids, system failures, anything that threatens the ship or humanity." As they continued the tour, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and the crew's pace immediately quickened. "What's happening?" Nezer asked, his skin flashing with concern patterns. "Battle stations drill," Chen explained calmly. "Unscheduled. My XO likes to keep the crew on their toes." The Ulvari watched in amazement as the ship transformed around them. Crew members moved with practiced efficiency to their stations. Blast doors sealed automatically. Weapons systems came online. Within minutes, the entire vessel had shifted from routine operation to combat readiness. "Impressive," Voral admitted reluctantly. "Standard procedure," Chen said with a slight shrug. "We can go from peaceful cruise to full combat readiness in under 3 minutes." The tour concluded in the ship's mess hall, where human crew members ate, socialized, and relaxed. Here, finally, the Ulvari saw a different side of humanity. Crew members laughed, shared stories, played games. Some were engaged in creative pursuits: drawing, writing, playing musical instruments. "This is unexpected," Nezer admitted as they observed the humans at leisure. "What did you expect?" Chen asked. "Given your species' focus on conflict and survival, I expected a more austere environment." Chen smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. "Director, we don't prepare for the worst because we're pessimists. We prepare because we cherish what we have. Life, art, friendship, love, these are worth protecting. And sometimes, protection requires strength." As they prepared to return to the celestial harmony, Nezer found himself reassessing his initial impressions of humanity. They were indeed a paradox, a species capable of both remarkable violence and profound creativity, technological sophistication alongside primitive aggression, individual expression within rigid hierarchies. "Captain Chen," he said as they reached the airlock, "I must admit that my understanding of advanced civilization has been challenged by what I've seen here." Perhaps, Chen suggested, advancement isn't a linear path. Different species evolve different solutions to survival. Indeed, Nezer agreed. And I believe the Ulvari have much to learn from your unique approach. As their shuttle departed the Dauntless, Vorel turned to Nezer. What do we tell the High Council? Nezer watched the human ship recede through the viewport. We tell them that the galaxy is more complex than we thought, and that humanity represents both a challenge and an opportunity for the Ulvari, a species that views the universe through a fundamentally different lens. A dangerous lens, Vorel cautioned. Perhaps, Nezer acknowledged, but also, in its way, a necessary one. The universe is indeed chaotic and unpredictable. Perhaps there is wisdom in being prepared for that reality. The shuttle docked with the celestial harmony, and as Nezer stepped back onto his ship, he realized that the encounter with humanity had already changed him. For the first time in his long life, he found himself wondering if the Ulvari's pursuit of harmony had come at the cost of something vital, the strength that comes from facing adversity rather than avoiding it. Unexpected strength. The conference chamber aboard the Celestial Harmony was a testament to Ulvari aesthetic principles, flowing crystalline structures, ambient bioluminescence, and perfect acoustic harmony. It was designed to put visitors at ease and foster peaceful dialogue. Yet the human delegation stood in stark contrast to this serene environment. Captain Maya Chen and her 4 officers maintained an alert posture that suggested they could spring into action at any moment. Despite being outnumbered by the 8 Ulvari present, Director Nezer couldn't shake the sensation that somehow they were outmatched. "Your ship is quite remarkable," Captain Chen said, her eyes methodically scanning the chamber's architecture. "I've never seen anything like it." "Thank you, Captain," Nezer replied, maintaining a neutral blue pattern across his skin. "We've spent centuries perfecting our designs for maximum harmony and efficiency." Harmony, Chen repeated thoughtfully, an interesting priority for spacecraft design. The human behind her, introduced as Commander Rodriguez, security officer, seemed to be assessing every detail of the room, his gaze cataloging potential threats and escape routes. The behavior was deeply unsettling to the Ulvari, who had evolved beyond such instincts. "Perhaps we should discuss why you were observing our vessel," Chen continued, bringing the conversation directly to its purpose with a directness that bordered on aggression in Ulvari culture. "As I mentioned, we are explorers," Nezer said. "When we detected unusual energy signatures, we investigated, as is our custom when encountering new species." "And what did you learn from your scans?" There was something almost predatory in the way she asked the question, as though testing whether they would lie. Nezer hesitated, then decided honesty was the only viable approach. "We learned that your species approaches spaceflight very differently than any we have encountered before." "Different how?" "Your vessels are designed for conflict," Vorel interjected, unable to contain his scientific curiosity despite the tension. "Multiple redundancies, compartmentalized systems, distributed command functions, all optimized for sustaining damage while maintaining operational capability." Instead of denying this assessment, Captain Chen smiled slightly. "You sound surprised." "We are," Nezer admitted. "The development of interstellar travel typically coincides with the achievement of species-wide peace. War becomes evolutionarily disadvantageous once a certain technological threshold is reached." A short, sharp sound emerged from Commander Rodriguez, a laugh, as the Ulvari would later learn. "I assure you," Chen said, "that humanity has found conflict to be quite evolutionarily advantageous throughout our history." The casual way she stated this sent ripples of concerned patterns across the skin of the Ulvari crew. "You speak of warfare as something positive," Vorel said, his scientific detachment momentarily faltering. "Not positive," Chen corrected. "Necessary. Humanity's history is filled with existential threats, plagues, ice ages, predators, and eventually each other. Those who prepared for the worst survived. Those who didn't perished. But surely once you achieved technological maturity, such preparations became unnecessary." Nezer asked. The human delegation exchanged glances that the Elveri couldn't interpret. Director Nezer, Chen said carefully, humanity has learned through bitter experience that peace is not an inevitability. It must be secured and defended. The Dauntless and ships like her exist to ensure that humanity can protect itself and its interests. Against whom? Nezer asked. Are there other hostile species in this region of space we should be aware of? Until 6 hours ago, we weren't aware of any other spacefaring species at all, Chen replied. But that's rather the point, isn't it? Preparation for the unknown. Nezer struggled to process this worldview. The Elveri had spent millennia in peaceful coexistence with other species. The idea of preparing for conflict with unknown entities seemed almost pathological. Perhaps, he suggested, with cultural exchange, we could help your species move beyond such concerns. Captain Chen's expression hardened slightly. With respect, Director, we're not interested in being fixed. Humanity's vigilance isn't a defect. It's how we've survived. Maybe I can provide some scientific perspective, offered Dr. Eliza Grant, the human delegation's scientific officer. Our species evolved on what you might call a death world. Constant environmental shifts, diverse predators, extreme weather events. Adaptability wasn't just advantageous, it was essential. A silence fell over the bridge as the implications settled. The Elveri had developed spaceflight as a natural extension of their peaceful expansion. These humans had apparently developed it as an extension of conflict. Their power systems are equally concerning, Vorel continued. They use fusion reactors for primary power, but maintain separate fission reactors and chemical energy stores as backups. They sacrifice efficiency for survivability. What manner of species builds this way? Nezer wondered aloud. One that expects to be attacked, Vorel replied softly. One that prioritizes survival over harmony. Analyze their biological data, Nezer ordered. I want to understand these humans better. Minutes later, Vorel's findings only deepened the mystery. Humans are carbon-based omnivores with an extraordinary environmental adaptability, he reported. They can survive temperature variations that would kill most sentient species. They can function after significant fluid loss, continue conscious operation with multiple traumatic injuries, and possess remarkable healing capabilities. That's not uncommon for species from challenging environments, Nezer noted. What is uncommon, Vorel countered, is their neurochemistry. Their cognitive function actually improves under stress. Their decision-making becomes more efficient in life-threatening situations. That's evolutionary backward, objected Navigator Thela. All rational species evolve to avoid danger, not function better within it. These humans evolved as persistence predators, Vorel explained. Their historical records indicate they hunted by literally chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They're optimized for endurance, adaptability, and crisis response. Before Nezer could respond, Communications Officer Zilla spoke urgently. Director, we're detecting transmissions from the human vessel. They appear to be conducting something called combat exercises. Show me, Nezer ordered. The view screen displayed images from the human warship. Crew members in uniform moved with disciplined efficiency through corridors and control rooms. Some areas showed humans engaged in what appeared to be simulated combat scenarios. They're practicing warfare, Vorel said, his voice hushed. In space. Continue observation, Nezer decided. I need more information before determining how to proceed. Hours passed as the Celestial Harmony observed the human warship. Each new revelation deepened their concern. Their weapon systems are remarkably diverse, reported Vorel. Energy weapons, kinetic projectile launchers, and these appear to be missiles with atomic warheads. They would use atomic weapons in space. Nezer couldn't hide his horror. And their crew organization is extraordinary, added Vorel. Over 1,500 individuals aboard, arranged in a rigid hierarchy. But here's what's truly remarkable. They cross-train extensively. Their warriors can perform engineering functions. Their scientists receive combat training. Every human aboard can apparently perform multiple roles. Nezer stared at the view screen, trying to comprehend a species so fundamentally different from any the Elveri had encountered. Director. Zila's voice rose in alarm. They've detected us. Their sensors have locked onto our position. Impossible, Voral objected. Our cloaking technology. They're hailing us. Zila interrupted. Audio and visual transmission. Nezer composed himself. First contact protocols were clear, but they had never been designed for a situation like this. Put them through on the main display. The view screen flickered, then resolved into the image of a human. The creature stood straight-backed, dressed in a dark uniform adorned with insignia. Its skin was a tan hue, its face dominated by alert eyes that seemed to bore into Nezer with unsettling intensity. Unknown vessel, the human spoke, its voice carrying a tone of authority that sent involuntary shivers through Nezer's nervous system. This is Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Alliance vessel Dauntless. You have been observing us for the past 6 hours. Identify yourself and state your intentions. Nezer noted the name of their ship with a chill. Dauntless. Fearless. Their very identity was defined by confrontation. I am Science Director Nezer of the Elveri research vessel Celestial Harmony, he replied, forcing calm into his voice. We are peaceful explorers seeking contact with new civilizations. The human's expression didn't change, but Nezer noticed subtle shifts in its posture, a tensing, a readiness. Unlike the Elveri, whose emotional states were displayed through skin patterns, these humans concealed their intentions, another evolutionary trait of a predator species. Peaceful explorers who cloak their vessels and conduct detailed scans of military ships. The human said, lips pulled back slightly revealing blunt teeth. You understand why that might seem contradictory, Director Nezer. Before Nezer could respond, another alarm sounded on the Celestial Harmony's bridge. Director, Navigator Thiela's voice was tight with concern. 3 more human vessels just appeared at the system's edge. They're moving toward our position at high acceleration. On the view screen, Captain Chen's expression shifted slightly. It seems we have much to discuss, Director. I suggest you power down your scanning equipment and prepare to receive a delegation from the Dauntless. We are very interested in learning more about your Elveri civilization. As the transmission ended, Nezer turned to his crew. Their skin patterns unanimously shifted to the pale blue of concern. They were waiting for us, whispered Voral. Those ships didn't just arrive. They were positioned to cut off our retreat. They let us scan them, Zila realized. They wanted us to see their capabilities. Nezer stared at the human warship through the view screen. For the first time in his long career of peaceful exploration, he felt genuine uncertainty, not just for himself, but for the Elveri civilization. They had encountered something unprecedented, a species that had emerged from evolution not with harmony as their guiding principle, but with organized, disciplined conflict. Prepare for contact, he ordered quietly, and transmit everything we've learned to the High Council. Mark it highest priority. As the human delegation prepared to board, Nezer couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy had suddenly become a much more complex place. The Elveri had always believed that technological advancement inevitably led to peace. These humans had followed a different path entirely. The galaxy, it seemed, was wrong about the nature of advancement, and the Elveri had much to learn. The Galactic Council. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was designed to inspire awe. Massive crystalline pillars stretched toward a transparent dome that revealed the swirling nebula beyond, a perpetual reminder of the vastness the Council governed. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations occupied tiered seating arranged in concentric circles, each species in their environmentally customized section. In the center of this impressive space stood a single human, Captain Maya Chen of the UES Dauntless. She appeared remarkably composed for someone making first contact with a galactic civilization. Esteemed representatives of the Council, announced High Chancellor Telmar, the eldest of the Elveri delegates. We present to you a representative of a newly discovered species from the outer spiral arm, humanity. A ripple of bioluminescent patterns, tentacle movements, and electronic signals passed through the chamber as various species expressed their curiosity. Many had reviewed the preliminary reports, but were seeing the human for the first time. The Ulveri research vessel Celestial Harmony encountered humanity 3 standard cycles ago, Telmar continued. Since then, we have engaged in preliminary cultural exchange and have deemed them ready for introduction to the wider galactic community. This announcement provoked visible reactions from several delegations. The Morigi representative, a floating collection of crystalline structures, pulsed with skeptical orange light. The insectoid Vrek chittered among themselves in clear agitation. High Chancellor, Rast Overseer Kizik of the Vrek Collective, the protocols for inclusion are clear. A species must demonstrate both technological maturity and cultural harmony before introduction to the Council. Based on the Ulveri's own report, these humans appear to maintain military structures and hierarchical dominance systems. How can such a species be ready for galactic citizenship? Captain Chen remained silent, observing the debate with keen interest. Director Nezer had prepared her for resistance, but experiencing it firsthand was another matter. The question is valid, Telmar acknowledged, and I invite Science Director Nezer, who has spent the most time studying humanity, to address it. Nezer moved forward, his skin displaying thoughtful patterns of blue and purple. Esteemed Council, it is true that humanity does not follow the expected evolutionary path that most Council species have taken. They maintain defensive capabilities and organizational structures that might seem primitive by our standards. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. However, Nezer continued, I have come to believe that these differences represent not inferiority, but adaptation to different evolutionary pressures. Humanity evolved on what could be classified as a death world, a planet with extreme environmental variation, multiple apex predators, and frequent natural disasters. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's diverse and often challenging environments. This resulted in a species with remarkable adaptability, resilience, and problem-solving capabilities. While they have not eliminated conflict from their society, they have channeled it into constructive competition and preparedness. The Zoral representative, a methane-breathing entity encased in an environmental suit, leaned forward. Director Nezer, your own report indicates that human vessels are designed for warfare. How can we welcome a militaristic species into our peaceful galactic community? Before Nezer could respond, Captain Chen cleared her throat. With the Council's permission, I would like to address this concern directly. After a moment of silence, Chancellor Telmar nodded. The Council recognizes Captain Maya Chen of Earth. Chen stepped forward, her posture straight but not rigid, projecting confidence without aggression. Esteemed representatives, I understand your concerns. From your perspective, humanity's approach to spaceflight must seem peculiar or even disturbing. Our ships are indeed built with defensive capabilities and redundant systems. She paused, making eye contact with various delegates before continuing. But I would ask you to consider the context. Until 3 cycles ago, humanity believed we were alone in the universe. We built our ships to withstand the harsh realities of space itself, radiation, micrometeorites, equipment failures, and the simple fact that in space, help is very far away. We designed for self-sufficiency because we had no allies to call upon. Her words seemed to resonate with some delegates, particularly those from species that had evolved in harsh environments themselves. As for our organizational structures, Chen continued, they reflect our belief in specialization and coordination. Yes, there is hierarchy, but it exists to facilitate efficient operation, not to oppress. Every member of my crew has a voice and value. The Morigi representative flashed skeptical orange patterns. Pretty words, human, but your species' history suggests otherwise. Your own records show millennia of warfare, oppression, and environmental degradation. We don't deny our history, Chen acknowledged. Humanity has made terrible mistakes. We've fought wars, harmed our planet, and often failed to live up to our highest ideals. But we've also learned from these failures. We've built global institutions to maintain peace. We've developed technologies to heal environmental damage. And we've expanded into space with cautious optimism rather than conquest in mind. Cautious indeed, chittered Overseer Kizik. Your vessels bristle with weapons while you speak of peace. Chen's expression remained calm despite the provocative tone. On Earth, we have a saying: hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Our preparations don't indicate hostile intent, merely respect for the unknown. The debate continued for hours, with various council members questioning humanity's readiness for galactic citizenship. Throughout, Chen responded with a combination of honesty, diplomacy, and occasional flashes of the steel beneath her polished exterior. Finally, Chancellor Telmar raised a hand for silence. I believe we have discussed this matter sufficiently. Before we vote on humanity's provisional acceptance, however, I would like to hear from others who have directly interacted with humans. Science Officer Vorel, please share your assessment. Vorel stepped forward, his skin displaying conflicted patterns. Esteemed Council, when I first encountered humans, I found them contradictory and concerning. Their capabilities for violence seemed incompatible with advanced civilization. Several delegates nodded in agreement. However, Vorel continued, during our cultural exchange, I observed something unexpected. Humans don't merely tolerate difference, they celebrate it. Their planet contains thousands of distinct cultures, languages, and belief systems coexisting within a unified whole. They debate vigorously without resorting to violence. They question authority and challenge assumptions, including their own. Vorel's skin shifted to a more confident pattern. Most importantly, they learn and adapt at a remarkable rate. In just 3 cycles, Captain Chen mastered enough of our communication protocols to address this council directly, a task that has taken other species decissicles. A thoughtful silence fell over the chamber as delegates considered this assessment. There is one more matter to address, Chancellor Telmar said. The integration of a new species typically requires sponsorship from an established council member. The Ulveri are prepared to offer such sponsorship, but traditional protocols suggest a probationary period during which the species demonstrates its compatibility with galactic values. What form would this probation take? Chen asked. Typically, representatives would serve aboard council vessels, participate in cultural exchange programs, and demonstrate technological sharing.